Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Money in the Law. Don't sound surprised or don't seem surprised because Money in the Law comes to you every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock.
Saturday morning.
On my FM 101.3 and the House and Cable Access TV.
Like clockwork.
With your host, Jay Marsden from the Marsden Law Group, and I'm John Drohan from Main Effort Financial. And we, of course, are joined by Christian Bidet, who is the world leader of House and Cable Access and the smartest guy in this room, probably.
Yep, absolutely. No questions
and
asked.
not
no
probably most rooms
asked.
that he walks into.
But this room, it's a low bar, but
definitely,
that's all right.
definitely,
All right. We'll give him a little
definitely
bit of
this room.
credit.
Jay, how are you today?
Doing well, my friend. Doing well. Happy Saturday to you. Happy fall. A lot of that in the air the last couple of weeks. You know, we had a little Indian summer run there. Now it's all over. Fall is in full swing. What did somebody say a couple of weeks ago? I love this time of the year. It's fair season. I said,
fair.
That's a thing? I didn't realize that was a thing.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that was a thing.
I never really get into the whole like happy fall, happy spring, like the whole happy summer, happy. I mean, it's the season, right? You know, it's like have a happy.
Not much you can do about it unless you're going to move.
I know.
But, the fair season threw me for a little. I just didn't realize that was a thing. And even if it's not a thing, I just didn't realize people thought of it that way.
Yeah.
You running like Labor Day weekend? Are you sitting down, you and Haley, saying, "Okay, let's get the calendar out now"? Now it's like wedding crashes, right?
Yeah.
They get the whole thing lined out, right? So you and Haley are like, "All right, now remember, we got the Big E, right?
That's right.
We got to save our energy for that. Don't forget, we got to get to Topsfield. We want to make sure we get to Topsfield. Brimfield, that's a little later in the season, so we got to figure out how that's going to work. But just make sure we plan all of our weekends out because again, it's fair season.
I'm having a little bit of equipment issue, so it's for TV because on TV they would be like,
"Way to go!" That's right. Way to go. That's right.
We do. We get new identities for every fair that we go to. Right?
We have a
costume. We have some disguise. Right?
This King Richard's fair. You want to talk costume?
I've been to King Richard. So I'll go to a fair just as much as anything else. I like them. Right? I mean. I have been to King Richard's Fair. King Richard's that's a little on the far end of extreme.
Oh, that's like.
Have you been to it?
No, I never been to it because I can't even get into the radio why I don't want to go to it. But that's like outdoor Comic-Con, right? Like it's like you're into it.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, honey, where's my wizard costume? Because we're going to the fair this weekend. I can't find my pointy shoes.
And you think it's going to be, just kind of a regular kind of outdoorsy kind of fair until everybody's walking around with turkey legs. Like there's that. The dress up,
tights,
of course.
A lot of tights.
Yeah, there's a lot of tights. I mean, and the shows are interesting. You got all like the kind of the Camelot joust. I mean, who doesn't love a good joust?
Nothing says fall like jousting.
Yeah, the thing that when we went one time, and that will be probably the last time. It was the torture guy, right?
Yep.
So he's like, and this guy ends up doing this thing where he kind of does all these horrible things to himself. Supposedly for
money.
Yeah. So at this point, the girls are maybe 9, right? I got two 9-year-old girls watching this clown, and then but the best part about it is while he's like got his eyelids like turned inside out and his eyes are all like bulging out of his head, he comes around with a cup like, hey, this is what I do for a living. Can you please help me out here? And we're like. Wow. I felt like I was in a compromised situation.
In some respects, you say to yourself, if anybody needs help, it's this guy.
It's you,
who's
right?
Torturing himself for money, right? As opposed to like playing the guitar and busking and doing some stuff like that.
Or working at a radio station or
a
job.
Yep. That's right. It's a different world. So that's fine. So it's fair season. There's a lot of them, and you can you pick and choose.
There's Oktoberfest.
That's different. That's a whole nother level. That's a whole nother level. No one's throwing rocks at Oktoberfest. But anyway, and by the way, the key to a great fair is what you just kind of alluded to, right? Which is
have some beers.
Is there a beer garden?
Is there a beer garden?
The ability to go and does the weather cooperate?
Wow.
Because it's those two things. It's make or break. Make or break.
A little live music doesn't hurt.
All in on that. Yeah, that's probably the big 3 right there, the trifecta. But I got to tell you, but I mean, remember
Jay's Fair Trifecta. Look at it on his Facebook page.
Remember when you were a kid, when your kids were little, right? You'd go to some of these things and you'd go to, I don't know, pick some crazy thing with the kids and you're like
the Big E.
The Big E. That's the big one, right? But you'd go to these things and you're like, oh my God, the kids are running around and they're petting 100 filthy animals and they're running around and they're getting dirty and it's filthy and then of course it always rained like the day before you went, so you gotta literally have on waders, waders on to like come out of it, and then all of a sudden you turn the corner and you're like, oh, I didn't know they had. I didn't know they had a beer
is
truck.
that a craft roots?
Right.
Yeah, is that a craft
Yes.
beer? Yeah. So
Kids, we can stay.
then
We can stay all day. Who wants to pick up some chicken?
all of a sudden you start handing out $20
Yep.
bills to the kids. Go buy something. Go get some stuff.
You're like a rap star. You're like, that's gonna make it rain, kids. We're staying here all day long.
Cotton candy.
All
Yeah.
day long. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
And it's and for we actually went to one up in the greater Neshoba area, and it was like a craft fair, right?
Yeah.
So I like craft fairs. I buy some crafts, right? And
Support the local economy.
Right. So I'm and it's cool. You could maybe pick up some early Christmas presents. And same thing happened. I come around the corner, and there's this guy with like a 2.5-foot beer, and I'm like, and I go to him and I grab him. I'm like, where'd you get that? And he's like, and he's like,
they're right over there.
They're right over
They got
there.
100 of them.
They point to it, and I was like, whew. Well, kid, there goes the day.
And if you really get lucky, you might have, let's say, I don't know, some grandparents with you who say, well, you know what? Why don't you guys go sit down and we'll take the kids over there to pet more filthy animals? And you're like, oh, yes, you will.
And now all
go
of a sudden,
spend time with Nana
and now all of a sudden, right after Labor Day, you find yourself saying to other people, hey, it's fair season. Let's go. Yeah.
If you know that that's the layout of the land, it couldn't be more exciting.
Fair
you came
season.
into it right now, everybody in the car right now has pulled over, they get their phones out, and they're typing
Looking at
in
the calendar,
fairs in
right?
my
Yeah, local
area.
calendar.
Yep, that's right. Need to look at your location. I don't care if Facebook knows where I am. I don't care if Google knows where I am. Where's that fair?
Jay, one of the greatest things that I love about you is you can talk yourself into anything.
Absolutely. All
right.
Speaking of, what are we talking about today?
Well, I got a couple things.
right.
Before we get to work.
Yeah.
I want to let's talk a little bit about money in the law. All right. I want to talk a little bit about us.
Please, by the way.
I'm going to talk about us. So for those of you who don't know, Jay and I actually had a real meeting not too long ago. And
No beer. That's what that means. No beer.
No beer, right? Yeah. Which I think he was a little surprised. I'm like, so I'm getting you something at Super. I'm buying you lunch today. And usually our meetings will include, several beers, and then we end up talking about the beer, right? So this was a meeting about, hey, where do we want to take this? Like we've been doing this. This is our 7th year.
7 years.
7th year that we've been doing this. So
I've given away free advice.
That's right. So we're like, look, we want to make this grow a little bit. We want to, and we
7 years, maybe time to do
7
something.
years.
Yeah, sure.
We want to expand this a little bit. So
to build on the brand.
So just
folks. Building on the brand.
Everybody knows. Of course, we have our website, and that's how you can reach us. Is if you have any questions, and we encourage it. You send us an email through the website, moneyinthelaw.net, and we promise you that it will get on the air.
Yes,
we promise
we will
you.
Answer it on air.
There's no such thing as a stupid question unless you ask a stupid question, and we will label. We'll say
and
no.
it will be addressed accordingly.
It will be addressed
accordingly.
Right, and everything will be held in confidentiality unless, of course, it is somebody that we know, and we will say your name on the air.
Absolutely.
Even if you say, don't say my name, Ken Sawyers, Dave Birmingham,
Harich, Smith, all those folks. You know who you are.
You guys know who you are. Those are our loyal fans, right? So, so we want everybody to know that the website's good. We're going to be doing some things. We're going to be upgrading the website. We have some new videos that came from HCAT. So encourage people to go and to see it. Listen to the show because
the Marsden Law Facebook page links to the Money in the Law website, so you can go through that way. You can find us on that. So again, chase it down. The website for Marsden Law links through to Money in the Law, so you get all kinds of ways to find us.
So linky. We got a new logo, right? We got my man Johnny Marino. Johnny Marino from he's my designer. He did a new logo for us. You'll see that. That'll be.
Can I just say something by the way about your boy? All right.
Yeah.
Your boy hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
Hit it out
Where
of
do
the
you
park.
meet him?
For those of you who have not seen it yet, check out the new Money in the Law logo. It is lights out. Not only is it lights out, I always think to myself, I fancy myself to have a bit of a marketing flair, right? You come up with some ideas. We've been doing it for years, joking around about this stuff. And then you think to yourself, like, oh, I got it all figured out. And then you bring in the pros, right?
Yeah.
Then you say to yourself, all right, they make an announcement, right? Coming from the bullpen right now, right? Johnny Marino puts the glove under his arm, and he jogs in from the outfield, takes the mound, says, I got it, guys. I'll get you to the close.
Oh,
I'll
you're
get
on
you
the
to
radio?
close.
What if I use a radio microphone?
What if we use some radio theme? Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
No.
But check out the Money Law website. He hit it out of the park, and so if anybody needs to have any graphic design work, reach out to us through the website because he's your boy. He did a phenomenal job. And again, stuff that you think to yourself, when you see it, you say to yourself, it's so obvious, why didn't I come up with that? So those folks have a special gift. They have a flair for the creative, and I will absolutely give him props all day long.
Yeah. So just letting everybody know that Money in the Law, we're here to stay. Right, we're here to stay.
Unless Tom decides differently, absolutely right.
Which is obviously he won't.
We serve like most people in government. We serve at the pleasure of Tom.
We serve at the pleasure of Mr. McAuliffe.
That's right.
So in that same vein, as many of you know, we're involved with with local charities and to support local charities. So one of the local charities that we're supporting is the Holliston Community Action Fund. So the Holliston Community Action Fund, and Jay and I, this dates back to now we're really dating ourselves.
This is a little long in the tooth here.
Yeah,
this has some mileage on it.
So the Holliston Community Action Fund is a fund it's a community-based fund that helps people in need. Right, we give emergency assistance grants, but also the Community Action Fund supports anything really that will make the community better, and not just in Holliston. It's written to enable to kind of touch the surrounding communities of Holliston.
Well, we understand the community in many cases is bigger sort of than your own footprint.
It's bigger than the town line.
That's right. That's
so
right.
It expands past that.
That's right. So not governed by geography per se.
Right. So and for those of you who don't know, this dates way back to the old Holliston Business Association where the actual Community Action Fund started. Was as part of the business association.
Yes, it was.
And then now it is its own 501c. It's its own entity. So we were talking, and Jay and I came up with this idea. I mean, I'll give him at least 34% credit on this.
Some props.
So the plan is that we are going to, we're now starting to, the 501c3 has kind of got its footing. We're starting to raise some money. We want to do an interesting fundraiser. So we're going to we're going to tease this idea. We're going to tease it.
This fundraiser, by the way, as we tease into it, does involve something that you and I both love immensely.
I mean, and let's see. Is it money?
Well,
no.
We love money, but
we don't. Is it the law? Well, yeah,
you love the law.
What's the only thing that we probably like even a little bit more than, other than like kind of the normal, your families
family,
and things
that's right.
Christmas and
obvious.
What is it? It starts with a B and
ends with ear.
Rhymes
ends
with ear.
Ends with ear.
So one of the ideas that we floated out is to potentially do, and there's we mentioned earlier about Oktoberfest and Beer Fest, and in the old days we used to do a big Beer Fest, which was great. Got a lot of rave reviews, made some good money from that. But we said, we need to probably take this to a new level. So one of the things we not only do we love beer, but we love craft beer. We love local craft beer. So
the fresher the better.
Right. And as many of you know, like back in the old days when we used to when we first started here on WMRC on Saturday mornings, I think we were on at 5:30 or it was pretty early.
We had the drive time slot on Saturday morning. Tom was kind to us. Yep.
The drive time. I think we had the rosary slot on Saturday morning. I think we had like the national anthem came and then welcome to Money in the Law.
That's right.
But also what would happen at that same time is we would do a beer review. So of some of the local craft. Yeah, it was good times. The FCC got involved. No, I don't know what happened, but
government.
Well, yeah. So we came up with the idea that we'd like to maybe kind of highlight some of the local craft breweries that are in the greater area, in the greater Milford and Holliston area, and maybe have a little bit of a friendly competition.
Ooh, why not? Who doesn't love competition?
A friendly competition. So we're in the process of working. We have spoken to several of the breweries.
We're working out the details.
We're working out the details. I don't know. Can we mention any names right now, or do you want to?
Nope. Save it. We're working on the details.
If you're interested in finding out more,
go to the website.
Visit us on the website or give us a call, and we're happy to, because we're still in the planning phases.
And then on the website, I don't know how long it's going to be up, so you want to make sure you get to the website pretty soon. There is a coupon for free beer, so make sure you get there and check that out. Gonna download that.
It's a download coupon for one free beer. Yep. Actually, that's right. We need to make sure that. And when is that? That's going to expire pretty soon.
It's tomorrow.
Yep. So
free beer tomorrow.
You might want to get. It's like those AC. Yeah, you might want to get on this. Tonight only.
Yep.
Free beer.
Yep.
Okay. So in that same vein, one of the things that I wanted to talk about a little bit today was, the idea of fundraising and kind of do like the kind of the charitable fundraising and the nonprofit. We've addressed this before, of kind of different ways you can donate to a charity, different ways that you can support charities, different ways that you can, if you want to create a charity yourself. But I wanted to kind of talk about how, just some of the like kind of nuts and bolts of charitable giving and some of the ideas behind it and some of the techniques that you can use for it.
Well, this is a good time to do that because we're getting close to the end of the year. We always try to talk about some of this planning a couple of months out, so this isn't a December 31st conversation, and there's that very typical bum's rush to get some checks written, and then you get these same questions over and over again. When does the check have to be, what's the date of the check? When does it have to be postmarked? When does it have to be cashed? So this is a good time to start thinking about that.
All right, so we'll take a quick break.
Season coming in.
We'll take a quick break, and so now's the time to really, you can start thinking about, you have some, like Jay said, you have some leeway. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back talking about charitable giving and that free beer coupon.
Nice.
Be right back.
Beer, right back. And you're back. Money in the Law, My FM 101.3. Jay Marsden with the Marsden Law Group, based out of glorious downtown Holliston, Massachusetts. We can be reached at 508-858-5324.
These are working.
Joined by John Drohan, my esteemed colleague, my longtime co-host, 7 years in, of Main Effort Financial, also located in glorious downtown Holliston.
A little bit further down.
A little further east, a little closer to the city. It's a little rougher area down there. What's your number over there at Main Effort?
770. Yeah.
No, not your street address. What's your phone number?
Well, at
Main Effort, the place you work.
508-893-9990. That's
Fantastic.
99.9. It's like a hockey season almost. Yeah.
Well played. Well handled. That's great. So we're back from the break. We're talking about, check out the new Money in the Law logo on the moneyinthelaw.net website. And we're talking about charitable giving today. And it's getting to be that time of the year. We'll be creeping up on Columbus Day. I'll be out of town this weekend. Work trip this weekend. Vegas.
Yeah. What are you doing in Vegas?
It's work stuff.
Is this part of like the how to be a better lawyer in Vegas?
It's part of how to build and grow your practice.
How to be a better lawyer. We're gonna do.
It's not how to be a better lawyer. It's a practice management program. All right. So we're talking. So we want to go to Vegas. We got to get together. We got to put our heads together.
Where else could great ideas come from than Las Vegas?
Nothing says productivity like a weekend in Vegas.
That's right.
That's right.
Because you're in. Yeah. I mean, what else is there to do? There's no distractions. You're just sitting down at the table,
sitting down with your laptop,
going to work,
and just going to work. It's somewhat monkish. It's very. It's a bit like that.
It is like that. It's not unlike being like when Batman went to study like with those Tibetan monks, right? Yeah. And next thing you knew, he's a ninja.
It's like going to the Fortress of Solitude, right? And just sit down and just get stuff
done. Sit with your ice crystals, and then next thing you know, your law practice has expanded 5 times.
I'm okay in the sense that I'm one of those people that responds well to white noise. Mm-hmm. So the white noise actually helps me really laser-like focus.
Yeah.
So. More about that when we get back.
But you've also said this is you can work in the evening. You're an evening.
That's right.
You're productive in the evening.
I probably get most productive like right around happy hour. My productivity level just skyrockets. Yeah. Then from there on in, it's a breakneck pace to get it done.
It is right. It's like the high speed train.
That's right.
From like Paris to
London.
Train. Yeah.
Bullet train. You want to call it the maglev? I'll call it the bullet train. Call it a whole bunch of stuff. But anyway.
It doesn't stop until it gets done.
Food for thought. So if you email us at moneyinthelaw.net and I'm a little slow in getting back to you, that's because I'm in the Fortress of Solitude getting stuff done. So
the Fortress of Solitude, right at the Wynn Motel. Yeah,
I'm at the Fortress of Solitude, also known as the craps table, and that's a different story. But anyway, we'll see how Money in the Law gets put to test this weekend.
Right,
get put to test quite a bit this weekend. Who knows?
So I may have to give you a little bit of a little financial guidance on how to approach Vegas.
That's right. Absolutely right. So we're talking charitable planning. Nothing charitable in Vegas, but anyway, actually, it's a big charity. You go and make a donation, you come back. But so what's on your mind? Talk to me.
So. so first of all, you brought up the good point about, okay, so now is a great time to start thinking about it, right? So you can start like kind of organizing, first of all, you can start budgeting, right? Because that's the big thing is, everybody, they see a charity, they're drawn to one thing or another, or maybe their life has been touched by by something. So they may have some connection to it. And so of course it's human nature. If I have extra money, if I have the ability to help out that cause, then I'll do that, right? So but it's really a question of how much money do I have available to do that?
Correct.
Because it's one thing, if I'm Warren Buffett and I have gajillions, and that's a different chair, because guys like Warren Buffett and there's wealthy people that are very, very, very generous, right?
Yeah, but even the Buffetts of the world, I mean, they have a budget, right?
They do.
Their tax person doesn't say to them, "Hey, give away whatever you want." Now, that certainly that urge may overcome them, right? As they go about their business over the course of a year. First of all, they're approached 1,000,000 times over, right?
Yep.
Constantly approached, and in many cases, most of these people have set up some type of like a real framework around their charitable giving, meaning they're not just Buffett doesn't say, "Oh, hold on,"
Well, that's part of my point. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, in front of the Stop and Shop, he gets hit up for a box of Girl Scout cookies. It's like, "Oh yeah, hold on, let me give you. I have $1 million cash in my pocket. Hold on, how many cookies can I get?" Right?
Warren Buffett.
That's not how it works, right?
Honey, I think it's him. I think that's him. Come on, all right. Get the Thin Mints. Those are his favorites.
I researched this. He loves those, especially if they're cold. Get them out of the freezer, right? So no, I mean these guys. There's a structure to how they do their charitable planning. They have a budget for how much they give away, and then obviously there's their one-offs here and there. But they think of. I guess my point is, they think about their charitable planning much in the same way they think about their investment planning and their retirement planning.
And so what I challenge you people out there, all of you loyal listeners, is do the same thing.
Yes.
There's no reason that you can't do the same thing that these large corporations do, in that it becomes part of your plan. Now, is there going to be, as with any plan, is there going to be some leeway one way or the other? Absolutely. But if you think about it, especially if you start thinking about it now or even earlier, you say, okay, I know that I have the ability. I want to donate to charity, and I don't want to.
Further, I'm charitably inclined.
Yeah,
that's the language we always find. Are you charitably inclined? Because if you're not, turn off the radio. Well, don't turn off the radio. But if you're not,
no, turn up the radio is what you need to do.
But if you, are you charitably inclined? First and foremost, are you inclined to give to charities? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
I will.
You don't need to apologize to me ever.
Right.
So love means never having to say you're sorry.
Nice.
So with setting this up or setting up the framework where you have okay, I'm charitably inclined, so I'm going to put some money aside that I'm going to use for that. Now, will I use all of this money that I put aside for it? Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But it becomes part of my plan. So it becomes I'm again, unless I have all the money in the world, I'm never going to save too much for retirement. I'm never going to save too much for my kids' college education. If I'm saving that, I'm never going to save too much for if I'm plan on helping my kids with their weddings. If I want to potentially buy like another piece of property, or if I want to get out of debt, or if I want to help my parents for something, whatever I'm saving my money for.
That's right.
Part of my savings could be is that I'm charitably inclined, so I want to be able to, when it comes time to the end of the year, and I want to donate to these charities or these ones that I like, I have something set aside, and I don't have to rob from Peter to pay for Paul.
So do you have a method, if you will? Because I do have a method of how you think that's best accomplished.
I know. So there's
Say it like that.
Well, no. I mean, am
I jumping ahead?
No, you're not jumping ahead at all. You're you're just very predictable, because I knew this was coming.
It's like I was baited.
It's not really fair. We've been working together for 7 years. I mean, come on. So Jay's right. So is there a way to do this? Is there a kind of a cool way to do it? And in some ways it's on the very simplistic way, you say, okay, I have in my savings account I have $20,000, and I know that this year if I put $500 a month into my savings account, $50 of that is I've earmarked for charity. Yep. So it may be something that simple. So in 12 months, I've saved $600, and that's what I can afford to, that's what, in my mind, that's what I've set aside to donate to charity, whichever one that I feel is strongest that needs the money. Or you could even get even more, Cro-Magnon, and you could have its own account. You could have its own separate savings account, which a lot of people do. They'll have several savings accounts, and that's part of their savings will go into that bank account. And now
they like siloing it out for all the right reasons, right?
That's right.
They can put it there. If they need to pull it back for some reason, they can do it. Makes perfect sense.
That's
Yep.
right. So it's available, and in the case of an emergency or something where I no longer can afford to donate to a charity because of something that's going on with me, then I can easily move that money out. Now, where Jay's going with this, and I'm going to let him take it away in a second, is there's another way. There's another mechanism to do this, and for people who are organized, for people who know that who budget enough that they know they're going to be able to, they want to donate to charity, and they have the means to do it, and there's no, it's not, I hope I'll be able to, I think I'll be able to, it's I know I'll be able to, and therefore I'm going to do this, and I'm going to consistently do it. There's a mechanism to do that. Jay, do you have any ideas of what may work for this? Because we've talked about this before on the show, but it warrants to be repeated and talked about again. Hit it.
I love this. The Donor Advised Fund.
Oh.
That's right. I said it there. I said it. The DAF. The Donor Advised Fund.
You're so daft.
And essentially what this is, and by the way, the reason that this is a big deal, and I used to work, as many of you may know, I used to work at a small mutual fund company in town, and I was at the small mutual fund company in town when this was actually invented. When they invented this. And when I say invented this, what I mean is they locked 1,000 CPA and tax attorneys in a room with a six-pack and a pizza.
I think they went to Vegas and did
and
this.
maybe Vegas,
Probably,
at the Fortress of Solitude, and they said, "Look, we want you to figure out all these types of things that you end up investing in over the course of your lifetime, if you will, are products. All right, in the investment world, these are called products. Just like you go to Imperial Chevrolet or Imperial Hyundai down the street and you buy a car.
Not a sponsor,
right?
but could be.
Could be a sponsor. You go to Fidelity and they have products. You go shopping, they take this off the shelf. Fidelity takes this off the shelf. It's an investment product, and these are one of those products that were invented. Fidelity was the first one to do it. It's called the Charitable Gift Fund. It's a donor-advised fund. Once Fidelity did this, and the rest of the industry saw that, holy, fill in the expletive, they were literally collecting.
Great idea.
They were just collecting money like it was falling out of the sky because people loved the concept. The concept is you set up an account with a donor-advised fund, and there's a bunch of them now. It's not just Fidelity anymore. There's a whole bunch of them. But what happens is the donor-advised fund, it is a charity. All right. So if you write a check to the pick any charity you want, Red Cross. You want to write a check to the Red Cross. You need a tax deduction for writing a check to the Red Cross because that's where your charitable intent lies. Well, you could do another thing. If you were going to write a $500 check to the Red Cross, you could write a $500 check to a donor-advised fund, and it goes into a mutual fund, and that money then starts to behave just like it would in a mutual fund. It can go up, it can go down. But the key is you get the tax deduction for making the gift to the charity when you put the money into the donor-advised fund. So it's just like handing it to the Red Cross, except you hand it to the donor-advised fund and you say, charity, 501c3, yes I did, $500, and you get the tax deduction. And then from there, you get to parcel that $500 out to any number of charities that you want to parcel that money out to. And the other nice thing about it is, while that money is in the donor-advised fund, it makes money. So you can put in $500, to use Sean's example from earlier, if you have a charitable spending or a charitable donation plan and you're putting in money on a regular basis, in addition to your contributions, the fund will earn money, which allows you to be even more charitably inclined.
Important things to understand. All right, so we're talking about this in the sense that we're saying this is a potential way for you to donate to a charity. As with anything, there are pluses and minuses to this. So don't think that we're like, oh yeah, this is the greatest thing we ever do. In concept, it's a great idea, but remember there are some potential downsides. So Jay brought up a great point. He said, remember, that when if I donate to a charitable fund and it's invested in a mutual fund or any other type of investment that it's in, remember now it becomes an investment and it behaves as an investment.
Yes, it
behaves.
does. Yes, it does.
So investments can go either up or can go down. So in theory, if I put $500 into the charitable donation fund, and I want $500 to go to the American Red Cross, and a month later, 6 months later, whenever I decide to disperse that money to the Red Cross, I may not have $500 in there, right?
No, that's right.
And so now, in that respect, I've taken my $500 deduction, but the Red Cross, who I really wanted to get the money, they're only going to get $400 because there's not enough money. The account value has gone down. So
now remember, you got a $500 deduction because
right.
that's what you wrote the check for. But to John's point, but then when you put it into an investment like this, they go up, they go down. When it comes time for you to then write the check to the Red Cross, you don't have the $500.
Yeah. So so that's the other way this works, is that when I donate when I add to my fund, I take the deduction at that time. So if I put in $500, then I take the $500 deduction. Now, let's say the investment behaves the other way, and the investment does fantastic, and let's say I invested into Apple stock, and Apple stock doubled, or I invested in a GE, or anything that, and now my account's worth $1,000, and I said, you know what, I'm going to give $1,000 to the Red Cross and to donate $1,000. I don't get to add to my donation to the Red Cross and add to my deduction. My deduction happens when I donate into the fund.
Your deduction is still $500, but
Yep.
you may be able to give the Red Cross more money.
Exactly.
Which means your charitable impact, if you will, is somewhat greater.
So the other great thing about this, the other beneficial part about this is, you may say, I am charitably inclined, and I may be very charitably inclined, so I have the ability to set aside money, to earmark money for charitable purposes, yet I don't know exactly what charity I want to give it, or exactly how much I want to give to one, or I may want to, there may be, a last minute one that comes up. There may be, say, wow, I really like that Holliston Community Action Fund, and I want to be able to give some money, or whatever it is, and you say, okay, but because I'm maybe monthly or annually or whatever, I'm loading up this think of it as like a charitable war chest, then I can give that money anywhere I want, to any charitable 501c3 that I want to. So
at any time.
At any time. So it allows me to. I may want to wait. I may want to wait to make a larger donation. So I'll save for whatever reason, because it'll have more impact, because I'm waiting for maybe the charity to start a certain program that I'm very interested in, but I'm going to save for it, and I can save for it. And if it takes over several years, I can take those tax deductions every year by loading up the fund, and then when it comes time to pull the trigger.
Now, something to keep in mind. So you can name your donor, your account, if you will, at a donor advised fund, anything you want to name it, right? So if it's the Money in Law Foundation, the checks that get cut, those they might come from the donor advised fund, but it comes in your name, right? Or in the name of whatever you've chosen for the name of your personal charitable pool, if you will. So if it was the Money in Law Foundation, the Red Cross would get a check from the Money in Law Foundation. That's your donation to a donor advised fund doesn't keep your contributions and your generosity confidential. They still know who the person who's making the charitable contribution to is going to be. And the other part of this, and John's talked about this a lot on the money side, in terms of your planning, this is what we try to suggest to folks is, when you want to do your charitable planning, this is like retirement savings. This is like saving for college. This is about slowly if you're charitably inclined, this is about slowly developing your charitable war chest, okay? And it's not about, I'm going to put in $500 and I'm going to give away $500 and I keep my account at zero, right? That's not the objective. The objective here is you make your charitable donation. You don't have to worry, and we talk about this all the time. This is the charitable donation, that deduction, that's a 1231 hard stop, okay? So what this does is allow you to get credit for your donation from a tax perspective, not necessarily have to feel the pressure to say, who am I going to write checks to at the end of the year to make sure I write these checks? So you write your check, you build your charitable war chest, But the part that I like about this is this isn't even a numbers game for me in my mind. But if you think about this on sort of a macro scale, this gives you the opportunity at some point to get your kids involved, right?
Yep.
And to get your kids to have a sense of what, you learn everything from your parents, right? What being charitably inclined means. And so at some point when your kids are old enough, there's an opportunity to sit down and say to the kids, guys, we're charitable folk, right? We try to give back. We've done well. We've been successful, and we want to give back to others and try to help out. We have developed this pool of money that it's a family resource, and we want you guys to talk about it. Sit down with your kids and say, we want you to think about who should we be giving some of this money to. It's not about giving it all away, but this is about developing, again, a war chest of charitable contributions, and who should we be giving it to, and then step back.
Yep.
And see what happens.
And
right?
watch
what happens.
Right. See kind of where that because like with anything when you're raising your kids or you say, look, you know what, you in your mind, me in my mind, I have like kind of what I think is important. But your kids, especially our kids now, they're becoming young adults and they have ideas of their own and they're exposed to different things and like, you know what, I really care about this. I really care about homelessness. I think that's a big problem. I'd like to do what I can to help there. And this is a great way to kind of get that started. And at the same time, like Jay said, if I'm building this up and I have this fund, then it gives me so much more flexibility. I'm not on the clock. I'm not on the calendar where I have to, make kind of like a knee-jerk reaction decision, which is what happens a lot of times. Again, which is why we're talking about charitable giving. In October, what happens a lot of times, you get close to, like December. You're into December and you're almost in the holidays. You're like, I gotta. I really want to donate some money. I want to either have some money deducted from my taxes, or I really want to give to this particular charity.
Or it's the holidays and money's tight. It's the holidays.
And oh, by the way, right, my credit card's back.
I would have given $500 in April, but I didn't think about it. Now it's December.
Right. So it allows you to kind of spread it out over the course of the year, and you get that deduction for this tax year, but you have the flexibility to be able to use it kind of when you want it, and you don't have to, and you're not under the pressure of, I have to, that I have to make this decision, by a certain date. Now, from the charities perspective,
sure.
They're like, look, we want the money as soon as you can get it to us. The charity, charities, that's what they rely on. They rely on fundraising. They rely on donations. That's how they work. That's how they run. So they're never going to say, hey, why don't you wait a while until.
Well, and this is something that goes on, by the way, in perpetuity to a certain extent. I mean, you'll name people who would take over your charitable gift fund if something happened to you, right? Your donor advised fund. So if the kids are going to be the successors of your estate and the successors of your legacy, if you will, they will then get the job if you're not around. Now, the reason that, and John was kind of touching on it, but it's a law piece, so I'm going to jump in because I like to, I like to do
you
that.
You went to 3 more years of law school than I did.
So what happens? It's actually 4, but anyway. So
I thought you were on the accelerated program.
Oh,
I thought Suffolk was 3.
No, it's 4. It's 4. I think it's 4. I think it's very much 4. But what happens is when you leave money to charity through your estate, now you open up a whole nother level of scrutiny, because it sounds crazy, and people don't really think this through, and they say, well, I want to leave $50 to something, right? Some charity, whether it's
the Boxer Association,
anything, a Boxer Rescue or something like that. So when you do that, you're opening up the door to let the Attorney General say, oh my goodness, you're leaving money to a charity? Hey, by the way, just let us know everything that's going on, and prove, by the way, everything that's going on, because we now have to be involved in doing all of that oversight to make sure that those charities.
Right.
So you're adding another level of complexity, and you don't think you're adding a level of complexity. You're saying, I want to give $500 to Pine Street Inn for all the right reasons, right? But that now involves opening up more oversight and more sort of scrutiny by other government agencies who have to look through this. So if you're making these donations ahead of time while you're alive and you're building up this charitable war chest, then that's already happened. And the people that you leave behind, they can do that. And by the way, for the record, if years ago, before the advent of these, if you had money, whoever had money, the Rockefellers of the world, they would go out and they would set up charitable foundations, right?
Yep.
If you're a public radio listener, at the end of any of those shows, they'll say, this show brought to you by, and then they rattle off a bunch of names of people who had a ton of dough, who set up these foundations And these foundations come with all the administrative, mumbo jumbo or the bureaucracy that you would imagine that a $1 billion charitable fund would have. They have boards of directors, they have meetings they have to have, they have minutes, they have annual shareholder meetings, they have to get together, they're required to give away a certain amount of money. So what these donor advised funds have done is they've taken that framework and they've brought that framework down to the mass affluent marketplace that lets people essentially treat their wealth at the mass affluent marketplace the same way that you treat that the Rockefellers or the Gates or the Buffetts of the world treat their wealth.
It was no different, right? I mean, in reality, right, in structure, it's
no
no different,
it's
right?
That's right. Very similar.
In the Bill Gates Foundation, he has whatever the number is. And do you think that money is sitting in a savings account? No, it's invested.
Or a CD.
No, it's invested, right? It's invested in however the foundation allows it to be invested. Yeah. It's invested in something, right? It could be invested in anything, real estate, whatever, right?
Right. And they have an investment policy that says this is how I'm going to invest the money.
Exactly.
And then they have a policy that says this is how much of this portfolio we're going to give away every year.
Yeah.
5% by law, could be more, but this is how much we're going to give away every year. And then in Bill's case, he's actually running around trying to highlight this to all the other billionaires that are out there to say, you don't need to leave your family $100 bajillion. They've already won the game.
Yep.
Let's do some good with it. This gives you the opportunity at the mass affluent level to be able to say, you know what? I don't have $1 bajillion like Bill Gates, but I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I'm as compassionate about the world. I want good things to happen.
Yep.
I can help. And I want my kids to walk away with the feeling of they can help and they can contribute and we can share our good fortune with other less fortunate. And there's a framework to do this. And the technology piece has also added to the ease of doing this, because now once you set these accounts up, making these contributions and sending these things out, this is literally jumping on a website and going click, 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 and sending out checks. And they'll have a list of all the charities you can pick from. So these systems, the infrastructure to do this is really quite remarkable. And if you're charitably inclined, it could be a very good thing to consider. It could be the way to go.
Right, and with anything though, like as with any investment, there's a cost involved, right? So there's always going to be a cost there's a cost that's different from. So if I want to donate $1,000 to a charity, there's no cost. That's the cost of the check and the stamp, right? So, but as with any investment, just like with the Gates Foundation, there's a cost to manage those funds. There's a cost to run the administrative piece of that. When we bring it down to the micro level, to the donor advised funds, there's a cost. There's a cost for the investment. There's an underlying, whatever it's invested in, there's an underlying expense ratio that is built into the price. Usually, it's built into the price. If it's in an actively managed account, then there's a management fee that you could be paying. So,
and they have different types of portfolios that you can pick, all in line with your comfort level of risk and volatility and what you're looking to do. And if you're conservative by nature, then they'll give you that option.
So, but understand, as with any investment, there is a cost that you need to make sure you understand. You need to understand the cost of that of that investment, and then you make your decision from there. Is that cost worth it? Is it worth it to have this money managed with the potential that I could make more money over time, and then therefore potentially I could donate more money to said charity than I would have otherwise if I was just writing a check.
And if you do it and you find out 2 years into it, 3 years into it, those guys had absolutely no idea what they were talking about. This is a lot of smoke for not a lot of real outcome here. You could just close it down, right? You give if you 400, you say to yourself, well, we thought we were going to build this war chest for charitable planning. It just never got off the ground.
Things changed. We couldn't do it, right?
We couldn't do it. We choose not to do it. All right, just more work. It made something more complicated that we didn't want to make that complicated. You make your final distribution out of the account, out of the portfolio, if you will. You drop your last $500 check to the Red Cross, and you're done. And that's it. And then you close it down, and you go back to doing things the way you were doing them before. And if that was a better fit for you, then so be it. So it's not locked in stone. It's not a forever thing, but it's another alternative. And again, it's all about sort of the ease of doing these things. And if you want to set it up, you can set auto pay up into these things. So $50 a month or $100 a month, whatever you want to go into these things.
In the Marsden's case, $5,000 to $10,000 a month.
Weekly.
Just
weekly.
Well, most of them, I think they'll take it weekly as well.
They will, yeah.
And again, we started this conversation on that we're in October, right? So October is a good time to start thinking about, again, if you don't have one of these, if you don't have a donor advised fund set up right now, that's okay. And if you're not ready to do it, or maybe you want to think about it, start it in the new year, that's fine. But if you are charitably inclined, now is a very good time to kind of at least start organizing. Okay, what do I have available?
That's right.
To be able to donate to a charity, and then what charities do I want to donate to? And
right.
that's really the. There's so many out there. There's local charities, there's national charities, there's international things. Right? I mean, think about hurricane after hurricane after hurricane. Then next thing you know, there's a fund or a foundation or a fund that you can donate to help the victims of said natural disaster. I mean, so you're limited by your own imagination or by your own exposure as to what's out there and there are so many great noble causes. Yeah.
And keep it in mind at this time of the year, because if you say to yourself at this time of the year, geez, I don't know, to John's point, I don't know where to give this money to, and you find yourself just writing checks for the sake of writing checks because you want the deduction, but you're not necessarily passionate about there's a lot of things that will take your money, if you will, and even though you say to yourself, well, I got to write the check anyway, so that's this cause, if you will, in my mind, right this second is as good as any other cause. That's potentially one way to go. But if you find yourself doing that, and if you find yourself January 3 saying, geez, you know what, I wish I had made a contribution, I could have done a little bit more, or my tax person said I could have done a little bit more, think about this. Again, this is maybe not if it doesn't happen to be a right now, right this second option, it's food for thought as to say, would this have made things easier for me? And again, the first couple of years out of the gate, you might say to yourself, we only got a couple of bucks in there. It doesn't seem like it's all that worth it. But again, this is the beginning of what could be a charitable war chest that you will then be able to pass on. Again, if you're inclined, you can pass on that type of value system to your kids, because at some point you can say to them, I want you to take over this. I'll still make a donation every year, but I want you guys to take over how this money gets doled out and again, it could be something that you talk about together. And how many times do you get to really sit down and have a conversation with your kids about doing good, right? And doing things with money that they don't necessarily, initially, they don't make the connection, right? They don't see it that way. And they want to do good, and they do, I'm sure they do good in their community. And this is a way of building upon that type of, and really kind of baking it into their DNA in many respects.
Yep, and God bless you if you have the ability to do it, right? If you have the wherewithal and you have the assets and you have the money to be able to donate to charities, then good for you, because there's some people out there that don't, and that's okay. But if you find yourself in the circumstances where you do have some, the tax code gives you some excellent ability to take some tax deductions for your charitable inclinations. So again, I'll reiterate, find something out there. There's something that I'm sure there's something that you believe in. Do your homework too. Don't just just because someone says, hey, we really want some money, we have a great cause. Do your own research, because again, there's as many for the 1,000 great charities and charitable causes, there's always something that there could be something that's not what you think it is, or not as not as above board as it should be.
Well, and don't forget, and I know a lot of people do forget about this, your employer may have a matching program. So if you're making contributions and you want to make a charitable contribution to the Red Cross or to whatever charity is near and dear to your heart, your employer may have a matching program, and they will, in some respects, I think, double, or depending on what their rules are and what their limits are, but they may double your contribution. So that's, again, the charities that you're most passionate about. That's a way for you to pick up some extra resources to help them obviously continue to do the good works that have caught your attention. And this gives you an opportunity to be able to have your charitable intent and your charitable dollars go further.
There's a radio station in our area, and I can't think of who it is.
The numbers escape me, because there's no numbers in law school.
There's a radio, exactly. There's a radio station that is involved in, I think, in a lot of charitable work here in the greater Milford area.
Fair amount, from my understanding.
It's a W something. There's a 3, there's an FM. But anyway, this radio station, who we don't even know who they are, they're involved in a lot of charitable activities year-round. There's that that Stuff the Bus where they
Oh gosh, these
where
guys are
you-
doing
where
never
you donate a toy for kids at Christmas time with Toys for Tots with the Marine Corps. There's the Aliva Fund, which I think they've raised over $1 million.
Yes, that's right.
For the Aliva Fund. What's the guy's name? I don't know. It'll come to me.
Tall guy.
He's not that tall. He's not taller than you.
No, he's all
The
right.
guy we're talking about is Tom McAuliffe. He runs WMRC, My FM. He
Of course, everybody
he
knows
did not
that.
pay us to do this. All right, so right now he's not listening because I don't think he listens to us.
Phenomenal local community resource,
Yeah, so-
involved in everything good about your
if
community.
if you want to take some lessons on how to kind of get charitably inclined, or then listen to My FM 101.3. Go to their website and just look around, do some browsing, and you'll get Tom will give you some ideas.
Yeah, he'll give you some ideas.
Yeah.
You want some help? He'll
Yeah.
you want some help? He'll put
Give
you
him
to
a call.
work. He'll put you to work. Put you to work.
He'll put you to work. All right. So on that note,
Yes, we
time
are
to go.
done.
We'll
We
see
are out.
everybody next week. Check out the website, moneyinthelaw.net. There'll be again, we're gonna have
New logo. Check out our new logos.
Yep.
Yep.
New logo. Update what's gonna be on the show. We'll have shows. Watch them from Miles and Cable Access TV. Listen to us. Tell your friends. Send us questions.
Email us. Let us know what's on your mind. Let us know if there's any particular topics you want us to tackle.
Yeah.
If we don't know anything about it, we'll make it up. Not a big deal. Don't worry about
We
it.
don't know anything about it. I don't know if that's totally true, but if it's about beer, we'll make it up.
You got it.
All right. We'll see everybody next week.